Hello and welcome to our latest edition of GreenFleet Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'll be hosting our discussion today. And I'm delighted to be joined by Ryan Norton, who is Head of Connected Car and European Relations at the AA. Nice to talk to you, Ryan.
Good to talk to you. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, well, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, Ryan, your job title has got me hooked.
Okay.
Head of Connected Car and European Relationships. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do day to day?
I can do. So I've been with the AA 6 months, just coming up for 6 months. So delighted to have joined the business. So my background is automotive. I've spent my whole career in automotive. I won't say how long because it makes me feel too old. But centralised around automotive tech and automotive service delivery. So my role at the AA, sitting in the business services division, and I look after our connected car strategy from a go-to-market perspective, which includes we have our own proposition for connectivity for vehicles, which we're taking to market, but then also responsible for how we use the connectivity with our B2B customers through the wider ecosystem within the AA. So it was a new role, and I think it shows the AA's focus on technology and how we don't just play in the space that we're very experienced in with our 120-year history, but also where we want to be from connectivity with our client base. The European relations aspect of the role. So we are a partner with ARC Europe. ARC Europe are a European-wide breakdown network. We're also a shareholder as the AA. And for simplicity's terms, basically when one of our customers has a breakdown in Europe and they have European cover, we provision that through ARC. And we also have B2B relationships through ARC for pan-European contracts. So part of my role is also to not really manage that relationship, but just act as a stakeholder if people have questions internally and kind of work those through the business. So that's part of my role, but my core focus on my role is the connected car element.
So, I mean, it sounds like actually two really big responsibilities, but big in terms of geography and big in terms of kind of data and the world that opens up.
Yeah, indeed, the connected car space is a really interesting space. There's historically through telematics providers globally, but certainly in the UK, there's been lots of data insights, driving insights, vehicle data that can be obtained through traditional telematics providers. But more recently, with cars being connected themselves, especially in the last 10 years, of course, working directly with OEMs on available connectivity through the cars. And there's a legislation change coming in Europe in September, which really drives home that OEMs have to give access to connectivity for certain use cases. So we're seeing a landscape change on the basis of yes, there will always be telematics providers, especially in the B2B space, but we also have connectivity options with OEMs and manufacturers directly.
Oh, that's very interesting, and it feels like quite a long time coming, to be honest with you. It was a shame that legislation had to make it happen, but nevertheless, it all sounds very positive. Ryan, can we zoom in on vans for our discussion? I mean, we've seen over the last 15 years the enormous success of electrification, particularly in the passenger car space. The van space is slightly behind, and actually in terms of take up, it is significantly lower. So why is that? What are the hurdles that are standing in the way of fleets adopting electric vans?
I mean, vans have a very different use case to a car. And from a fleet perspective, I think I use the terminology, vans are often working assets. They play an asset-led role in a business, just in the way a piece of manufacturing machinery would do. And from a fleet perspective, cars are there to for people to travel between the locations, which is very important and imperative, and you need good range on EVs to allow you to do that. But vans are are working vehicles. Vans are loaded with things that need to be delivered to places at point of times, and often for extended periods of time throughout the day. So range, charging infrastructure, everything becomes so essential because you have a customer. Fundamentally, at the end of it, you have a customer that you're delivering a service to, whether that's a B2B contract or a consumer waiting for their parcel be delivered, and you cannot create any risk there. So from an ICE vehicle, from a refueling perspective, there are plenty of fuel stations available, and if you're in a risk base that you're not going to make it, or your fuel's running low because of the extended range that you're doing that day, you can go and top that up. EV perspective, it's not as straightforward. I don't think it's quite as complex as a recent convert to an EV driver myself. I don't think it's quite as complex as I had probably imagined, but there are certainly other underlying factors with van fleets, certainly, and they need to be taken in consideration by fleet managers. So it's not as simple as transitioning the car fleet is also challenging in itself. But there is there's a story to take company car drivers on with that, and actually when you map out how often are we doing long trips, and can you change your trip to cater for that, those fundamentals need to be thought into more detail for a van fleet, on the basis that you can't provide a risk to your customer. Vans are also loaded, they're heavier. They have other equipment on there, especially supermarket refrigerated vans, and charging needs and capabilities are often slightly different. So there's more of a considered approach, and there's often different types of use cases where an electric van is more suitable than a traditional ICE van, but I think is a more a considered approach that van fleet managers certainly need to make.
Yeah, and it really is the case that time is money, isn't it? With vans in particular, and every minute can make a difference, and that might be the difference between doing 1 or 2 extra deliveries a day if you are a logistics fleet. So, yeah, I get it. And in your kind of new role, what are you seeing are the benefits of that vehicle connectivity for vans, and how can that support the transition to electric vans?
So connectivity from our solutions that we're bringing to market, of course we want to cover our full case. We do have consumer-led products from our connectivity products as well. Doesn't quite fall under my scope, but from a B2B fleet perspective, we want to offer our solutions and services to company car drivers, but often connectivity and the direct link with uptime or downtime management for vehicles is inherently more focused on LCVs, because of that very nature, as you just mentioned, that they need to be operational. So connectivity for us, how it can help the fleets and EV. From a fleet perspective, connectivity and information that you can obtain from the vehicle is absolutely essential to support some of the AA's wider services. So roadside breakdown, of course. The more we know about that vehicle before we deploy one of our technicians is key. We can make different deployment decisions. We can maybe triage remotely without sending a technician. It gives us a lot of options there. From a downtime, uptime management perspective of van fleets, you can make more proactive decisions based on the knowledge of the vehicles on the information that you're taking from the vehicle. So by our very nature, we see an engine management light on a vehicle. There's often a panic. And there's a chance that vehicle was immediately taken off road. But actually, the underlying fault code information that you can obtain for connectivity can make a differing choice on what you do. That actually that vehicle is still drivable, and you're going to book that in for a future date, so that vehicle's not off the road. I posted something on LinkedIn the other week that the average cost of a vehicle being off road for a van in the UK is around £800 a day, and that's without taking into consideration service delivery to customers. So they're two focal areas, but there's definitely an EV transition support piece that connectivity can give you. So connectivity can give you driver, number one, it can give you mileage, location, travel distance. It can give you driver behaviors, fuel efficiency. These are all pieces of information we can take off through our connectivity. Also drive tech, which is our driver learning behavior business. We have functionality to do that there. So if you've got that set of information and you can normalize that data, that can definitely help businesses with their EV transition. You can see how far those vehicles are going. Can you replace that vehicle with an EV based on the range that's doing on a more normalized average basis? Does the driver style support an EV? So there's with regenerative braking, actually how the vehicles are driven. Can there be some driver training that can support an EV transition also? So that connected data can help, in my view, and from fleet managers that we've got within the business and fleet managers that I've spoken to externally, that connected data is certainly key to helping with the EV transition. And we're working with partners who are actively using that connected data to help with that EV transition message. So I think EV and connectivity go hand in hand, and not speaking on behalf of the legislation change, but I would make a pretty accurate assumption some of the legislation change around connectivity has been driven by the transition to EVs. The makeup of an EV vehicle is somewhat different, and actually access to that vehicle and that data is more imperative, just because of the nature of how the vehicle is built. So I think direct alignment between connectivity and EV, but definitely connected data supports businesses with EV transition.
Really, really interesting. I liked your statistic about estimated cost of having a van off the road was £800 a day.
Yeah.
And I think that I would like to think is one of the benefits of switching to an electric van fleet, because the downtime, albeit the vehicle's more expensive up front, the downtime and the time needed for maintenance is typically lower than it is for a diesel van.
Yeah, definitely. The cost of maintenance as a fleet is not my area of expertise based on the connected car role, but it's clear from the lack of less mechanical parts and fluids, oils running through the vehicle. There are reduced need for repair on certain areas, and servicing needs are reduced on vehicles as well. Obviously, businesses that you deal with from a service, maintenance, and repair perspective, the training for the technicians that you use ensure they're fully EV trained and have the right EV diagnostic equipment is absolutely essential. But I think it's clear there would be a view of less downtime on EV vehicles, and that is something certainly figures from industry is starting to highlight and show.
Yeah, great. And then, I mean, this is the AA, right? So I have to ask, in terms of roadside assistance, specifically in vehicle connectivity, what support is out there specifically for electric vans?
So we have robust EV training for our technicians across the business, and we can support EV vans in the same way that we can support any vehicle from a roadside perspective. Connectivity, again, at that point of breakdown, understanding what the faults are declared to us are very, very key. And I think ultimately the figures of vehicles breaking down because they've run out of electric are absolutely almost parallel to vehicles breaking down because they've run out of fuel.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a bit of a misconception that more EVs are breaking down because of that reason than they actually are. But we're fully able to support EV fleets through our technicians and the diagnostic equipment that we hold on board on the vehicles. We also have our mobile mechanics now, which is a new service we provide. We've got 100 strong mobile mechanics, and they're focused on proactive maintenance. All of those vehicles, may I add, are EV vehicles,
Right.
or majority are EV vehicles, on the basis that we can plan out the work, we can plan out their routes. That's a great use case for a working van fleet that can be EV, and the technicians are trained to complete service, maintenance, and repair work on EV. So we certainly see that as a growth area for us.
So, all right. So I'm building up a picture here. I've got a whole storyboard for you, Ryan. So, using your connected car service, you're able to see what's happening with that van, and it could be preventative. In which case you're able to contact that fleet and say, well, we want to send a mobile mechanic out. When's it going to be parked up for a 4 or 5 hour period so that we can do what we need to do? Or, and I love this, what vehicle to send out in the event of a breakdown based on what the connected car data is telling you. Have I gone too far? Have I overdressed it?
You've wrapped up an elevator pitch for us there, Kate.
Great. Okay.
I mean, that would be the optimum result from us,
isn't it? For everyone.
And of course, our customers in a B2B world take services from different businesses for different services. So, in an optimum world, we would be the SMR provider for our customer, we would be the connected provider for our customer, and we would be the roadside provider for our customer, and accident management and the other services that we provide. But yeah, as you said, having connectivity, proactively managing the vehicles to define whether it needs a service or repair, and using that data at point of breakdown would give us that full connected end-to-end 360 solution. So yeah, you're not here to pitch and sell our services, of course. I'm here to pitch you. But for any of our potential customers listening, that's the capabilities that we do have across the business.
Yeah, that's the dream, Ryan, and I love it. And I have to say, back in the dim and distant past, I did a brief stint working with a telematics company. It is quite a fragmented industry, so kind of I feel the next step is, even if you're not the actual connectivity provider, this whole data sharing that you talked about at the beginning between the auto OEMs, if we can get that going with the telematics providers also, so that as a breakdown provider, at the very least, you're able to go forewarned and forearmed and offer this preventative service as well. It sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
The end. Okay. Well, actually, that is the end of the discussion, Ryan. So thank you very much for your insight. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thank you. Thank you for the invite and in joining you today. Great. And great to have the opportunity to chat with you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. And thank you, of course, to the AA for joining GreenFleet Talks. And thank you for watching. Please tune into GreenFleet Television again soon.